Good morning. We only have one report out today, and so it'll be relatively quick. But I want to sort of poll the audience here a little bit and see what we know. You ready? All right. So what's the very most important thing we need to learn to do as we try to make Denver water better? It's not a trick question. What do you think? Safety's good. Safety's good. So principally, we're trying to learn how to see waste. Learn how to see waste, things that don't add value for our ratepayers. Anybody know what the acronym we use to keep track of the various wastes? What do we call that? What's that? Downtime. All right. So the first one's D is defects, right? Right. Anybody know what the very worst one is of all of the wastes in downtime? Waiting, that's a bad one, but it's not the worst one. What do you think? What's that? Yes. So that is the worst one. The worst one when we have all these great talented people here at Denver Water and we don't actually listen to them and use their talent. This week, you're going to hear some great talented people applying creativity to make life better for us and our ratepayers.
All right, so with that, I'm going to invite the team up. This week, our process owner was Patrick Puckett, and then our team leader was Mike Mercer. So take it away to Patrick.
All right, so this week's RIE was on T&D and meter inspections. We've had a lot of failures when meter inspections come out and inspect our new meters and stop boxes. So we got together and we kind of came up with some ideas, and I think we're really gonna, have a good chance of solving this problem. All right, I'd like to introduce you to our team. I'm Patrick Puckett. This is Victor Ananzola. We have Ryan Cobble. Close enough. Sorry. Jose Ruiz, Mark Rivas, Lenny Diamond. You have Mike Mercer, Alberto Perez, and Tony Martinez. So we'd like to give a thanks to all these people up here. We might have missed somebody. If we did, sorry. And I'll hand it off to you.
Our reason for action, why we're doing this, T&D crews had not been consistent in following the engineering standards, and there's some variance between crews. The expectations between meter inspectors and T&D foremen are not defined, not clearly understood, and interpreted differently within crews. So like what we're trying to say is that everybody isn't on the same page on how they're doing their inspections, and I guess the way we're doing it is a little bit different to how they see it. Before we get started, this is basically what we do, how we do a service. When we come off the main and we go into the curb stop, and then we put in a wave valve and then connect to the meter while we're trying to basically eliminate one of those processes, which is going to save time and money.
So current state, you can see that the meters and the stop boxes aren't, to grade on the hillside. Everything should be flat. So they're failing the inspections for that. So our target state, before we decided we were going to eliminate the stop box, everything was perfect in line and flat.
So because we had so many meter inspections fail due to stop box issues, the team was asked, do we really need a stop box? So with that thought in mind, we came up with this concept. Essentially, we removed the stop box and placed the curb valve inside the meter pit.
After Thursday morning discussion with the group, and we took a vote and we decided to get rid of the stop box, or the wave valve and stop box. So this is what we are installing now inside the meter pits here. And right there is, we started looking at it and thinking, okay, why do we need a wave valve? Well, we already have 3 ways to isolate the water into the house. We have a corp on the main that we could turn off. We could turn off it by the VIP in the meter box. And of course, there's your main shutout in the house.
On Wednesday, we conducted another experiment with grading issues with T&D. They couldn't get the meter pit to grade sitting flat on, especially on a slope. We found out that we're using Carson pits, which are a plastic pit, a little lighter than the concrete pits from back in the day. So Carson designed a grade ring that's sloped so that way we can match the angle. Right here we have one right before we put the backfilled and put the riser ring on, and here's final grade, and it'll pass.
The team also came up with the plan to work with the pipe replacement crews to do some pre-con work ahead of time. Sometimes you go out to a job and you have the ones that are at an angle, or the meter pit's right by a tree or in a driveway, things like that. They'll have the foreman call the meter inspection group a few days ahead of time before they start doing their service lines and actually walk the job with the meter inspection guys and pre-place where they want to put them. That takes out any of the guesswork and make sure that, you know, we put them where they want them and it works for us at the same time.
For safety, we added a ladder into the pit when the crew is working. For personal protection, everyone wore glasses for their eyes, helmets for their head, earplugs for their ears, and then safety vests for when you're out on the street. The main safety thing that pertains to this is we eliminated the worker having to hold the stop box in the trench, because you would hold the stop box, and then as you're holding it, you'd have dirt dumped on it so that you could set it. And taking out the weigh valve and the stop box, that's no longer an issue. Who will be impacted and how? T&D will no longer be installing stop boxes and weigh valves. Meter inspections will no longer be inspecting never water work. The warehouse will be stocking less supplies, and the district foremans will be doing spot checks.
So, in a few things we have left to do, is we have the meter domes that are right now getting tested for highway rating, so in case we need to put them in a sidewalk or a driveway. And then after this 4-week pilot's done, we'll change the engineering standards, and then we're going to get a checklist to the foreman in the next distributing meet. And then some of the metrics. In 2016, we had a 30% fail rating, and 2017, eliminating the stop box will hopefully go down to 0%. And 2016, we had $96,000 between the stop box and the weigh valve used, and then by eliminating this, we'll bring that down to $0 essentially. And the last thing is our backfill time is going to go from about 50 minutes to 30 minutes.
And last but not least, insights. Excuse me. What did we learn? Eddie, change doesn't hurt. Not as bad as you think. And we found out we never know what we're going to find out there. Everything's a little different. Every situation's a little different. How do we feel? There's a ton of those. Not everybody will understand why we did it. For the team, if it works, great. I mean, if it doesn't, we're going to find out, and then we'll go from there if it doesn't. And the last one was pick a value that you thought most, represented you this week. Respect came in big time, and passion too. Everybody's passionate about what they do, and they want to do a good job, and they want to do it right. Sometimes we need a little help. Yes, it's mainly on pipe replacement project and service line leaks. When the guys go back and set the meter pit and the stop box, we've had inspection issues where we're not passing the inspection. The stop box may be crooked, off to the side, too high, too low, that type of thing. It'll go, we'll tap the main, the service line will run one continuous piece from the main inside the meter pit, out of the meter pit, inside the house. There'll be usually, there's a stop box mark showing where the stop box would usually go.
Right here, 18 inches off of your curb. And then that would be, the wave valve right here used to be in the ground. Well, the stop box would come up off of that. Well, isolating that wave valve altogether, what we're going to do is run a solid piece of copper coming from your main, from the corb cock up to here. And now a shutout is going to be your VIP up here. We could turn this off. That will isolate the water from back here, and it's not going to go further into the house. This part comes down here. This goes into your house where you get down there, and there's another main shutout valve in the house that you also can isolate by turning that off. And the meter will sit right here. And that eliminates a lot of the joints too, because you get a lot of joints in, now let's say wintertime or something, mud could get in there. You could also have a leak. So, pardon me, so getting rid of the wave valve, you've already taken out 1, 2 joints from there from leaking. So now from the main all the way to right here, you got 2 connections, one there and one right here. From there, you got one here, one into the house. So you're 86 in like 3 joints. What's that?
We looked at it, Paul, the only reason we'd actually use it would be if something was wrong with the yoke. So the one where it's right down below, we talked about it and took a vote on it. The only time you'd really use that is if something was wrong with the yoke and you had to replace the yoke. And I mean, if it turns out that, we get the feedback that you actually need it for some reason, we can go that route. If this totally doesn't work at all, I mean, maybe we'll look at something else. And Patty, to your question before, when you look in the standards, and I'll have to get with the lady in the corner there, but I don't know if we would get rid of the stop box or leave it in the standard and put the word optional. Aurora does the same thing. In their standard, it has stop box and meter pit optional. And the stub-in program, guys, we haven't even looked at that yet. That's more going to be Vince and my buddy in the back's thing. So, yeah, we'll see. Katie?
Well, we have a current SOP now, and I mean this type of setup. We have some devices that we can actually use with this. We actually have these little guys here. These are actually called Magard slugs. So these, we basically take out the meter pit, or take out the meter, and this goes directly into the spud. And that's just a way to keep people from using water, essentially. And this is a pretty drastic measure. We still have locks here that we can turn off as a first step. But this is definitely like a tool we can use if we have to. Further beyond that, I guess we can defer to Mike's team if we have to turn them off at the main, if necessary, if it gets that bad. And I don't think that happens very often. Could very well happen, but that's something that Mike's team would handle for us.
So this is a big change. You talked a little bit about what kind of the pros and cons were as you guys moved through the week. You said you voted on this, so obviously some discussion.
Yeah, for sure. We took a vote, and it was really because, it was just a way of thinking, something that we've done for so long. It's something that we're used to doing. And actually, Mike reached out to a few states, a few different utilities, water utilities, and we were surprised that it was about 50-50. Some people used it, some people didn't. And really, it was just a way of thinking, I think. Day one, I was totally like, let's not get rid of it. I love it. It's awesome. It's a tool for us that you're taking away. Day 3, I'm kind of like, all right, let's get rid of it. I had totally, the paradigm shift got me, and it took a couple days, but eventually I got there. So really, there wasn't too much benefit to it. I mean, there is isolation, redundancy. We are losing that, but when it comes down to it, we have 3 valves still. Absolutely. So, yeah, and that was kind of what helped my paradigm shift move a little quicker, I think.
Universal metering went through. We used them, that was our shut-off before metering. You had the curb stop, you shut it off, and that was the only way to do it. And, you know, we looked at it too, and 99% of the time, if you've got to shut that off for some reason, you're going to open the meter lid. It's bigger, it's right there. You kneel down, you use a crescent wrench, and you shut it off. Stop box, you know, I guess we can't set them right. We proved that by 30% failure rate over time. But, I mean, you're trying to fight to get the key on. It might be snowing, it might be raining, whatever it is. It's easier just to pop the lid on the meter and shut it off. We are going to have some times when, you know, people they don't play by the rules, and they're going to, you know, they're going to try and steal the water. So that's what the McGuard's for, and that's what my crews and a backhoe are for. If it comes to that, we'll fix them until they pay. Patty. Okay. Some more of the savings that we found were each stop box is about $30. Each wave valve is about $60. Talking with Dan in the warehouse, we used 965, 970. We'll call it 1,000 for my math because I'm not very good at it. So in a year, you're saving $30,000 on your stop box alone and $60,000 on your wave valve. Talking to the guys, we might have to go back 20 or 30 times a year for delinquent or something like that, and even at the crew rate of a couple $1,000 to go out and shut them off at the main, I mean 20 to 40,000, we're still ahead 50 grand or more. So we looked at all those numbers too, actually ran the math. So Chris. Good question. We didn't really get, if a stop box was damaged, would we just pull the stop box now? What's that, Vic? We do have times where they'll call and they say they can't get on the stop box. One of the ways we might end up repairing is if it's an inside set. So, and then we might even look at bringing the meter outside at that point, depending on what the service line material is. A lot of tracking on my part, Patrick's part. The tracking period we figured was 4 weeks to begin with. I think it's going to need to take maybe 4 months, 4 or 5 months before we actually see feedback from Lenny's group, from my spot checks, the foremen themselves, whether this is going to work or not. So I'd say anywhere from 4 weeks to 4 or 5 months to get a good gauge on whether it's going to work or not. We didn't really look at that, Eddie, to be honest, no. We looked at the Minneapolis style stop box that actually screws right onto the way. And there's a base plate for it, but 3/4 and 1 residential. 1.5 inches and up, because that requires, better than any of us, the size pit that takes and the standards that it takes to maintain those and replace those. Katie? The flow cell won't need to do it because they're in a copper area right now, so they're just tying in right next to the main. The pipe replacement crew that's in town, it's going to work for those. Gabe, his crew in the back, they're all over the city. It'll apply to them too. Service leaks. Dura's another animal. I think we can still work the program with Dura. I've talked to Alexis about that, and it's just a matter of who goes first and where we stop. So we've talked about that too. we're not there yet. We're gonna look at it for ourselves, for us first, and then Mike, you could probably answer that better than I could, but right now we're in-house only, but it's been talked about a lot. I just don't know where we're at with it yet. Lenny?
4 months you guys do 300 of them, so,
Oh, yeah.
maybe 300 out there, so if it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world, but 300 out there.
Yeah. That we can say yay or oops. Lenny? Yes. Yeah. And the pipe crews do that anyway. All our pipe replacement program, lead service lines, we take the lead all the way out. Main to house. Service line leaks also.
So the team will be here afterwards as well, if you guys have any additional questions. One thing that I thought was really admirable of the team was they had the one set up with the wave valve on there still, and they even challenged that idea. They took it one step further to say, well, what's the real value add? What's the real function of the meter pit and the wave valve even being on there? So this idea that we're challenging the way we do things every day was pretty, thank you, pretty admirable of the team. And so I just want to give them a round of applause for really, really challenging the way we do things today. So nice job, guys. And that's all we have for today. Like David said, we just have one report out. So you guys have a great weekend and drive safely.